Hey, what's up guys, Grace here, and we are back in No Man's Sky Beyond, of course, with a brand new update coming up from Hello Games. So this went live about a couple of hours ago for both the PC version of the game as well as the consoles, and it's actually the biggest we got so far, and it contains a lot of fixes. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of fixes, quality of life improvements, and also crashes that have been dealt with, and even the disappearing or vanishing of starships on space stations as well as freighters has been fixed. So let's jump right in with all of the new details, and I'm going to start things off with a few over here, especially in terms of bug fixes. So they have done a lot of reworks on how you talk to NPCs, especially with the Cartographer, but in any case, for all of the alien interactions in the game, text prints out way faster now when clicking on the interaction itself, so you won't have to spend that much time just clicking away or checking out the dialogue, which I know many of you are not really big fans of. In terms of the Cartographer, there's a number of changes over here that I really like. One of them is the fact that a lot of the text in the Cartographer Interaction screen has been cut down, so you don't have to click that much. Also, we finally got the ability to exchange multiple pieces of navigation data introduced in the game, so now you can go at the Cartographer and buy more maps in just one single transaction instead of having to do it one at a time. There's also a couple of fixes over here for the extractors. One is for the gas extractor that caused sulfurine to be extracted at a significantly lower rate compared to other gases, and as well for the mineral extractor that caused it to fail to work when placed on rare mineral hotspots such as gold. And finally, in the same category, we have a number of technical issues that have been fixed, including the one for the driver warning boxes that could occur when all available drivers were out of date, one for the rare memory corruption issue, and finally for the mod warning and low disk space warning that could cause a soft lock in VR. On top of this, there's also a bunch of other fixes that the consoles didn't get up until today, so let's go over them because there's a huge list over here. So obviously I'm only going to go over the more important ones. So let's start with the first one. They fixed the number of issues where technology was not being correctly detected in exosuits and starships after being moved around in between inventories. This includes, of course, being unable to recharge your hazard protection. Another one was for a bug that many of you guys reported, and that is for the one that was causing starships to vanish when landing on space stations in systems with a high number of ambient freighters. So this is all great news. I didn't have this occurring for me, but I know a lot of you guys did, and hopefully this is going to get fixed once and for all. On top of this, they fixed a number of input issues that were causing the free scaling and rotating of base parts to be unavailable. It seems that some of the fixes that we talked about in the previous video last week have also been finally added to the consoles, and it's funny to see that that only happened now 6 days after that, but this involves the one that prevented portal glyphs from being learned from traveler entities. This is something that I talked about in the previous video, but there's a ton more over there that we talked about previously, so I'm only going to cover the ones that we didn't, or the ones that have been added since then. Anyway, they have removed an incorrect warning about transferring cargo that could occur when purchasing a frigate. I know there was another bug with valuable treasures such as ancient bones that if you transfer them to other players, they would be given as an invalid product, so that was also an issue that got fixed. Fixed an issue where other doors had incorrect icons in the build menu. There's also another one for all the GAC players out there who would normally float when actually trying to sit on the ground, so now the collisions should be fixed a little bit, or the height at the very least. One of my favorite ones, and this is especially for those who enjoy visiting other players' bases, and even more so for those huge bases out there that cause a lot of lag, it seems that some of the performance has been increased, especially for the large bases, by adjusting the base part data. However that is, I'm not really sure, but I did notice a slight improvement for that. Probably the biggest improvement should be seen on consoles though, because I believe that is where the lowest amount of FPS is where players have. Anyway, player-made buildable sofas are finally sittable, so if you placed any of these in your base, you can go ahead, test it up, and sit your ass down. Literally, you can go in and do that. On top of this, there's also a couple of bugs over here that have been plaguing my gameplay, and I'm actually so excited they finally got fixed. First of all, the health, power and shield stations now receive power aboard the freighters, which is something that didn't happen before. The hydroponic trays finally started working with base power, so that is really awesome. If you set a few of these up, they should now be working. The only thing that I kind of wish started working was also the standing planters, and this is something that still doesn't work, or at the very least last time I checked it still didn't work. There's an issue that caused batteries and solar panels not to attach correctly to building roofs. Well, now that is going to be fixed in the newest update. Another one is for the animals not dropping mordite when killed, and for those who don't know why this is so important, well, mordite is very useful in cooking, especially carnivore bait, and you cannot cook carnivore bait without mordite. That is one of the essential elements, just like how Fecium is for the herbivores. In this case, the animals just didn't drop it no matter how many you killed, and it's finally getting a fix. And on top of that, you couldn't get it through other means, especially if you were a new player. You could go to a space station, maybe get lucky and buy it, or plant the plant in the first place, but you would need to get mordite first before planting it, so it was kind of unavailable for new players. Finally, this is fixed basically, and I can definitely go ahead and resume doing some cooking. Another one is fixed an issue that prevented mordite being placed in the nutrient processor. Some people had this issue as well. Improved handling of the camera in tight spaces, fixed a number of very specific missions and dialogue flow problems in the multiplayer, and there's a bunch of updates over here and fixes, adjustments for the VR, the UI, icons and all that kind of cool stuff, as well as a few issues that was causing text clipping in notification boxes. There's also a couple of fixes over here for ships, especially for the exotic ones. In this case, they had a bug that caused them to hide their wings when retracting landing gear, so this is getting a fix as well. Also one for the ship cameras intersecting with the freighter hangar. For some reason, well, the way they land right now isn't really appropriate. They kinda clip in with the freighter itself, with the ceiling, and yeah, that also happens on the space stations as well. Now, for the players out there who had problems with their trade terminals on freighters intersecting with their floors, there's a fix applied, but in order to make it work, you will need to scrap your old terminals and install new trade terminals in order to see that repositioning happen properly. So you'll have to do it manually, but the fix is in there as well. There's also a number of graphical issues aboard the freighter that have been fixed as well, and they made a series of small geometry optimizations in the interior of the space anomaly. In fact, just for the space anomaly, they have fixed a number of issues with a number of collisions and objects over there, so overall really nice stuff, but it was already pretty good to begin with. And finally, we have a number of fixes for a number of crashes as well as soft locks. So we have a fix for the soft lock in a specific interaction in planetary factories, fixed a crash that affected large bases, fixed a crash that could occur when the game is shutting down, one in Sentinel Quad navigation, the issue that caused black squares to appear when damage numbers were turned off, fixed a crash that could occur if an NPC tried to walk to an invalid location, there's a rare crash in memory allocation, and finally internal improvements to crash reporting. And that is pretty much it. This is a massive update because for the console people it contains both the update or part of the update from the previous week as well as all of the other fixes that have been added in the game since then. Anyway, the game is going in a really good direction. Hello Games is definitely fixing a lot of stuff, so in no time we should start seeing some new stuff being added in the game as well, and I am especially waiting for those community missions and for the Quicksilver Merchant events. I want to see these because there's some really nice customization options in the game. You guys already know what's up. I made a video about it like a few days ago talking about the new character customization. Anyway, if you're still encountering any issues, then I highly suggest you guys go ahead and report whatever you have, because Hello Games is definitely fixing these as fast as possible and as fast as they can. If you're on the PC version of the game, you can do so from the Zendesk website. This is really easy to follow. I'm going to even leave a link down below. If you're on the console version of of the game, you should have a button that lets you report any problems for the game as well. And I'm pretty sure Steam users also have something like that too. But yeah, that's it with the update. If you still have any major issues, go ahead and post them down below and we will try to solve them together. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up on it would definitely be super appreciated. Also, don't forget to subscribe and activate that notification bell, and I will see you guys next time.